have to take it. Oh, we're live? Okay, perfect. Okay, so maybe I will shut the lens off. You get it? Perfect. Okay, well, welcome everyone. How's everyone doing today? Yes, thank you for coming out. So this is a good crowd for 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Good. Well, thank you for being here once again, and thank you, Milford and Diane, Sara, everyone for having me here from Fehr-Way Tours. If you haven't ever met me, my name is Danielle, and I've been proudly representing Collete now for about 1 year and 3 months. I guess in a couple months it will be 1.5 years. Time flies. Now, I've seen a couple of familiar faces, but has everybody ever heard of Collete, or is this new to some of you? Raise your hand if it's new. Okay, so for a couple of you, it's fairly new. So just so you understand, we are a motor coach tour company, and we have been around for just over 100 years. So I like to say that, you know, we've been around and we're old enough to know better. Because, you know, 102 years this year, it's a long time, and basically we've learned what makes people happy, what works when we go on tour, what does not work, and that has been, you know, a little bit of trial and error, but also feedback from you going on tour and getting back to us. We have an entire design team that goes to these destinations, and they put together these tours to make sure that, you know, you can go and have a trip of a lifetime. Now, you may have never tried Collete, but has some of you at least tried guided touring before? Yeah? Okay. So I do have a kind of a fun video just to kind of get us introduced into guided touring and to kind of break the ice, and then we'll go straight into what we do for the 3 departures that we're promoting today, which is Southern Italy and Sicily. We have New York, and we also have Iceland. So I'm going to start with Italy, then go into Iceland, and end up with New York. You're welcome to interrupt me if you have any questions, but I'm also going to stick around at the end. If you have any other questions, I'll be happy to chat about that. All right, so here's the video. And I always forget to turn this on.
On your left, the House of Parliament. On your right, the Tower of London. On your left, Buckingham Palace. Right, Piccadilly Circus. Left, Trafalgar Square. Right, Lewisham. Left, the upfields of Kent. And here we are at the seaside. Everybody back on the coach! Everybody back on the coach!
That poor guy. Has anybody ever had that experience? I hope not. A lot of times people ask me, you know, why are we different than some of the other tour companies out there? And one of the things that we actually are known for is the tour pacing. We do create a lot of experiences. We want to make sure that, you know, you immerse yourself into the culture and to the history. And it's not going to be, you know, rushed because, you know, sometimes people come back from their trip and they say, well, you know, I need another vacation after that. And that's not the experience that we want to create for you. I always say that the experience that we do want to create resonates with this picture because a lot of us seem to have forgotten what it's like, you know, to connect with that inner child, or, you know, the experience that you're going to see as I go along. They're all about, you know, connecting with your passion. We want to make sure that you come alive on tour. And these are supposed to be moments of a lifetime. Now, this is just a little bit of my own pictures and some of the experiences that I've been able to go on with Collete. Now, but some of the other things that make us different, you know, I mentioned tour pacing, but these are the 4 values that we kind of stand by. So more peace of mind, more expertise with the tour managers and the local guides that are provided, more on tour. So we are known for having a lot of inclusions. I think most of you grabbed one of the little booklets as you came in, promoting the trips. And sometimes people will look at the price, especially here in the prairies. You know, we tend to compare, and people wonder why is it that, you know, Collete may be a little bit more. And it goes back a lot to the quality, but also to all of the inclusions that are there. And then more flexibility, because we do create experiences to make sure that we tailor to everybody's needs. We do have different travel styles. So today I'm going to cover some of the trips that we're going on as part of the Classic Tour, which basically means if the tour is sold out, there's about 44 passengers aboard. The motor coach itself, it's larger than that because we want to give you enough space. But, you know, 44 people on tour. We do have the Explorations brand, which is about, on average, 15 passengers only. So if you prefer traveling with a smaller group, we have that option as well. I'm going to cover one tour spotlight on New York that it's part of the Spotlight brand, which basically means that we stay in one hotel. It doesn't necessarily mean that the tour pacing is slower. Okay, so just keep that in mind. But we do stay in one hotel, so we don't have that hassle of packing and unpacking every day. And then we have some river cruises and some faith tours as well. So again, a lot of opportunity here. Now, in terms of what's included, all of the hotel accommodations are already there for you. We use 4-star hotels. And they're basically strategically located. So in some areas they may be at the city center, and then some areas they may be a little bit further away if we're heading off to a new city. So whatever makes sense for that day. You will have a tour manager with you the entire trip, and some local experts come and go to just bring that extra wealth of knowledge in some of the destinations that we visit. In terms of meals, all of the breakfast is included. We do have about 60% of dinners, as well as, you know, sometimes a couple of lunches. And the reason why we don't include all meals, it's because we want to give you some balance with free time. So all of our tours have about 1/3 of free time, and that usually revolves around lunchtime. You won't have to wait in line to go into the attractions, and everything, as I mentioned, you know, it's already included there for you in terms of pricing, and then also baggage handling, you won't have to worry because we have somebody taking care of that for you. We basically taking care of all the details. That's what it kind of comes down to it. Now, who here is excited to go to Italy? Nobody? Then well, I hope I can make you excited at the end of the presentation. So as I mentioned, I am going to be starting with Italy. Has anybody ever been to Italy? Okay, so quite a few of you. I find that most people that have been to Italy, we tend to start by visiting Rome, Florence, and Venice. Those are like the touristy cities. That's not what this tour is all about. But it doesn't have to be just for a first-time traveler. Italy, you know, we have more than 13 options when it comes to tours to Italy, simply because it's a phenomenal destination. And So this tour in particular is about 12 days. We have 16 meals already included. And of course, when we think of Italy, we think of a lot of history, a lot of art. We're talking about architecture, some amazing food. What else comes to mind? Wine, yes. You gotta have the wine as well. So this is a little bit of your tour at a glance. You can see the tour pacing is pretty good. Here we stay at least 2 nights in each destination. This is about an activity level 3 out of 5. So 5 means that it's our faster paced tours. 1 is the slowest. So this is about the medium, okay? And we will be going on this trip in September 12th until the end of September, about the 23rd, which is a really good time of year in terms of weather. We're probably looking at about average temperatures around 24 degrees Celsius. So it's great for touring. It's not going to be very hot, but it's not cold either. So it's that happy medium. So we do start with an overnight flight to the city of Palermo. So this is the capital city of Sicily. Has anybody ever been to the southern part of Italy or Sicily, or is this completely new? Okay. I find most people have never been to this area. It's becoming very trendy, maybe because everybody has been to other areas and now they want to explore something new. So again, going back to what Italy is known for, and certainly Palermo is known for that as well, a lot of culture, a lot of art as we go visit the capital city. A lot of influence when it comes to the Greek colony because, it was initially a Greek colony. So you're going to see that as you visit, Palermo and some of the other places that I'm going to cover. So we do start with a welcome dinner, and that's for pretty much all of our tours. It's an opportunity for you to get to know your other travelers and then, get rid of some jet lag. And if there is any flight delays, you don't have to worry about missing, the biggest attraction on tour. Now, the very next day, this is about day 3, we consider it. So that's when the tour officially starts. And we will start by visiting all of the famous squares in Palermo. So there's quite a few of them. Piazza Bellini is one of them. The Quattro Canti, which just basically means four squares. On the square itself, it represents the 4 different seasons of the year. And then Piazza Pretoria, it's another famous one that we're going to go see. Apparently, this one, it's kind of known as the Square of Shame, because a lot of the statues that are on the square, they're all nude. So, of course, as we visit the piazzas, you're going to have that local guide sharing a little bit more of why the importance of these places that we visit. Now, the other place that we go visit is the Cathedral of Palermo. We visit the Palace of the Normans. So the Normans actually used to rule Sicily, so that's why it was such a big deal back in the day. And the palace itself, we are going to visit the main residence and see where the royal family used to live. It is one of the oldest palaces in Europe, so it's quite exciting. We're going to visit one of the famous churches as well. And along the way, you're going to notice there's a lot of exotic mix of different types of architecture. All the influence from the Normans, from Spanish, Baroque architecture. So very, very stunning things to see along the way. So this is a little bit more of a different cathedral that we're going to go visit. This is in a town nearby Palermo that we go, and it's very well known because it has a lot of olive groves and orange and almond groves as well, so you're going to see that along the way. We visit the cathedral, and then in the afternoon you have a little bit of time to do exploring on your own. I mentioned that we have some free time, so this afternoon will be one of those times. If you're not too sure what to do with your free time, I always recommend people to connect with their tour manager and just ask them for some tips. because they can kind of tailor to your own needs. Everybody's different, and sometimes you're at a new place and you're not too sure what to do. So make sure you ask your tour manager, because they can definitely make some recommendations. Now this is about day 4. We head off to the countryside and we go visit, we pass by this farmland area, and then we go visit the town of Agrigento. Again, this has a lot of influence, one of the main Greek colonies as well. So as we go visit Agrigento, these are some of the major highlights. We go visit the Valley of the Temples. Has anybody ever been to Greece? Okay, a couple of people. Because every time I start seeing temples, automatically I think Greece. But we are still in Italy, okay? But that southern part has a lot of big influence. So Valley of the Temples, it's a UNESCO site, and it basically contains 7 different temples that we're going to go visit. Some of them are the temples of June, temple of, what are some of the other ones? Jupiter, which is the god of the sky. So if you're into Greek mythology, some of these names are going to start coming back to you as we go visit this area. Hercules is another one. Okay, and then next we go visit this area, Giardino Naxos. So this is known as the Garden of Sicily. Just absolutely stunning. You can see a lot of nature in this area, and that's where we stay for about 3 nights. So, you will have a chance to just really immerse, and it won't feel rushed. Now, next, as we visit this area, just not too far from Giardino is Taormina, and this is a vacation hotspot for back in the day. In the 19th century, a lot of people used to go visit this area, and now I guess it's coming back with a lot of tourists going to visit. Here you're going to see some pretty stunning beaches, everything is kind of up on the hill, a lot of historic monuments that we're going to go visit, the gardens, and all of these mountain villas. So very, very beautiful area that we go visit. And some of the things that we do, we visit the main square. You will have the tour manager with you, just kind of sharing, the history of the area. We go visit Corso Umberto, which is one of the main squares from the area. We also visit the theater of Taormina. As you can see, this was one of the city's best preserved Greek temples. So we stop in this area, you get a chance, to sit down, take it all in. There's some very, very stunning views from here. And I don't know if you can see it quite well on this picture, but as we visit the theater, you're also going to have an opportunity to see Mount Etna in the background. Does everybody know what Mount Etna was? Yeah, it's one of the active volcanoes in that area. Actually, further south there is quite a few, it is a volcano area, so I'm going to touch on a couple of those. And then in the afternoon, again, you will have some free time just to kind of do some exploring on your own. Now, the very next day, we do go off to this area of Catania. And so, again, a mix of, natural beauty, as you see, like a very picturesque, a lot of Baroque architecture here. You can see the Mount Etna. Well, this one is a little bit easier to see the Mount Etna in the background. And some of the things that we do, whenever you see this symbol that has the 2 arrows, it basically means that we're giving you a choice between 2 different attractions. So it's an opportunity to, tailor to your different needs, but basically you won't have to pay anything extra for it, but you will have those 2 options. You have to choose because they happen simultaneously, okay? So, just pick whichever works best for you. So one of them is going on a city tour with your local guide, so you can kind of get to know the city of Catania a little bit more. It is an area that it's known for, some of the food, the fresh fish, produce, for some of the local market. And then the other option is visiting one of their famous museum. This museum in particular, it's the Allied Landing Museum. So there's a lot of history, you know, if you want to learn more about what happened back in the day. It is a very emotionally moving museum, if I put it, right? Because it kind of brings us back into the history, and it was dedicated to the Allied troops. So you're going to get to learn all about the history and what happened in World War II and all that. So you can kind of pick which one suits you most. And then later on, we're going to go to the national park area and see, you know, and learn about the volcano itself. We will have a local expert with you, just kind of sharing, you know, some of the park's landscapes that, you know, were kind of sculpted by nature and the volcano. It is one of the most active volcanoes on Earth, basically, so you're going to get to learn all about it. It dates back 500,000 years ago. So, and then actually on that same day when we finish off, we return to Giardino Naxos, and then you're going to have dinner in that area. So this is about day 7. We venture to Messina, and we go on a short ferry to this villa of San Giovanni on Italy's mainland. And then we pass through some of the region of Calabria, and this is right on the toe of the boot, you know, of Italy. And then we make a stop at one of their local famous wineries. You know, we touched when we are in Italy, the wine is such a big part of it. So when we go visit the winery, you're going to have that local expert just sharing a little bit more information about the local wines. You are going to have a chance to visit the vineyards and the cellar. And then we're going to do some sampling of the wine and have a dinner right all happening in the winery itself. So it is a fun day that all kind of revolves around the wine. So if that's what you're excited about, this is definitely a very good day. Then on day 8, we head off to Sassi di Matera, and you can see what the town kind of looks like. This resembles, you know, an ancient settlement of all these carved caves or, you know, like houses kind of thing. And they say that people have been living in this area way back 7,000 BC. But you're going to get to learn a little bit more about the history of this place with your local guide. And they're going to be sharing why this has actually become very recent a famous movie destination. So does anybody want to take a guess why? Does it resemble anything? Kind of resembles ancient Jerusalem. I think that's why. But I know one of the movies that was recently filmed here was Wonder Woman. I haven't particularly seen it, but it was one of them, and there may be more to come. So we do visit a local food market, and you are going to have a chance to sample some of the local delicacies and the regional produce from that area. When it comes to food experiences, we always want you to have, you know, very authentic, local ingredients kind of experience. All of our meals are outside the hotel except for breakfast, and that's simply because of the convenience. But everything else, we want to get you out there and exploring. And then the afternoon, you will have some time to visit Matera on your own, so that's basically some free time. Okay, then next we do visit the town of Alberobello. This basically means the beautiful tree in Italian. So you can see we're gonna have an opportunity to see a lot of these built homes that they're known as trolli, and it is a UNESCO site, and you're gonna just learn more of the importance. All of them, you can kind of see it in the picture here. Some of them have a symbol on top that have, you know, some sort of meaning, either religious or just kind of, you know, a superstitious connotation. So this is a very cute little town that we're going to pass by. And then later in that evening, you're going to have an opportunity to have another traditional Italian dinner. Any Italian food lovers? Yes. Pasta is my favorite kind of food, so doesn't get any better than that. Okay, so this is about day 9. We kind of travel towards one of these most breathtaking areas you can see there, the Bay of Naples. And what we do as we arrive here, we go visit this town, which is called Vietri sul Mare. Vietri, yeah, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Basically, the city is known as the city of ceramics. So if you're into shopping and especially into ceramics, there's some beautiful things that you can purchase here. Very colorful, very Italian-like. And you will have a chance to do some exploring on your own as we visit this little town. Then later in the afternoon, we kind of arrive on the Sorrento Peninsula. So another very beautiful seaside resort town that we're going to go visit. And then the very next morning, we actually go do what a lot of people are interested in doing when we head off to Italy, is visiting the Amalfi Coast. Has anybody had that on their list of like places they want to go visit? Amalfi? Yeah. I find that Amalfi Coast and Cinque Terre are the two places that, you know, if you haven't been, people want to go. But don't get them mistaken. The Amalfi Coast is further south. Cinque Terre is part of the Italian Riviera. It's not part of this tour. It's a little bit further north. So we cross into the Amalfi. This is about just over an hour from Sorrento area. And the Amalfi itself, it's about 50 kilometers of coastline that basically features, you know, all of these mountains, cliffs, you know, these beautiful views of the coast itself. There's a lot of vineyards, these little colorful fishing villages. So there's a lot to see. It is a popular destination that people go on vacation as well, and a UNESCO site. So you're definitely going to have an opportunity to explore the town of Amalfi. And then we head off to this other little town that's called Minori. And does anybody want to take a guess what this is? Limoncello, that's right. They say that the best limoncello comes from the area of Naples and the Amalfi Coast. So when we go into Minori, we actually take you to a family-run limoncello factory. So you're going to have some opportunity to do the sampling of the limoncello and then hopefully bring some souvenir home as well. And then later that afternoon, we basically take an Italian break and we just sit down, kind of take it all in and have some of their strong espresso coffees at this famous coffee shop and enjoy some pastry as well. And then the evening itself, you're on your own to do a little bit of exploring if you like, or just, you know, relax. Okay, so about day 11, this is kind of coming to the end of your tour. We drive along the Bay of Naples, and then we arrive in the excavated ruins of Pompeii. And this is basically located on the foothills of Mount Vesuvius. And again, the mount itself has erupted, I don't know, over 50 times. But I guess the most popular time was back in year 79, when it basically buried the city of Pompeii. And it got preserved under all the layers of ash. So we are going to go visit with the local guide. You know, this is like a remarkable archaeological site that it's still being preserved. So you're going to learn all about, you know, their preservation and all they did to make the buildings stay as they are. And then later that day, we basically head back to Rome, and your journey comes to an end in the evening. We have we have the farewell dinner, and then your journey basically comes to an end the very next morning. So this is a little bit of Italy. Any questions? No? Okay, you're also quiet. Okay, so who's ready for Iceland? Okay, I see a little bit more excitement about Iceland. That's good. Iceland is a phenomenal bucket list ticket. I mean, this is just full of dramatic everything, right? So if you're looking at Iceland, You're definitely going to see a lot of the lava fields, a lot of the waterfalls, some carved out valleys, big mountains. I mean, it's just absolutely beautiful, the fjords. And this is a little bit of your tour at a glance. We actually did, I think it was last year, we did a little group from Fehr-Way tours to Iceland. I think there were about 9 people or so. And it was so popular that we decided to do it again. So that's why we picked this departure. This is also an activity 3 level, so, you know, not too busy, but also not the slowest pacing. And we will be leaving on September 25th until the beginning of October, which means September is just the beginning of the season for the northern lights. So hopefully we'll be able to catch the lights when we go. The other thing is the temperature won't be as warm anymore because, you know, they've kind of come to the end of their summer and going into their fall. So we would be looking at about average temperature anywhere from 11 to maybe 6 degrees. But Iceland, you know, it could happen that maybe one day you wake up and the temperature is up in the 20s. So we never know. But you got to be prepared, dressed in layers, and it's still not going to be as cold as Winnipeg. So it's all good. We are ready for this, right? Has anybody ever been to Iceland? No? So Iceland, we do start with an overnight trip to the capital of Iceland, which is Reykjavik. And this is a UNESCO City of Literature. It was actually one of the first non-native English-speaking areas that got this title. And we do start by going on a walking tour with your local expert and just learning more about the capital city. We visit the downtown area of Reykjavik, the harbor front, and then we also go visit one of their famous churches. And some of these names I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce, okay? So that's why it's up there. I'll allow you to read it. Yeah. But this is the main shopping street in Reykjavik, and we go visit this famous church. Does anybody know who that statue person is over there? No? So the statue is for Leif Erikson. He was the first European to have set foot in North America, and this was actually a gift that the United States gave to the country when it was Leif's discovery 100th anniversary. So you're going to get to see the statue right in front of the church. And then we head off to visit some of the incredible Golden Circle. I find that most people that are heading to Iceland, this is what they would like to see. If you've never heard, the Golden Circle is about a stretch, it's a route of about 300 kilometers, and there's about 3 different natural wonders that most people want to go see. And of course, we're going to see all 3 of them on this tour. But before we get to the Golden Circle, we actually start the tour by visiting a family-run dairy farm. And here you're going to get to learn, you know, a little bit of the culture of the Icelanders. You're going to meet some of their family members, try some of their local delicious cheese, and then also some of their famous ice cream that they make right on the farm. And then we do start by visiting some of the natural wonders of the Golden Circle. So this is the first one, Thingvellir National Park. And this is a very historic area. It's a UNESCO site as well. Here's where Icelanders, you know, established their first parliament. And it is also a very geothermal active area. Apparently this zone kind of marks the thinnest Earth's crust right over here. So it is still very active. And the second one that we go visit, it's Gull Falls waterfall. This is very stunning. It's about 100 feet, these double cascade, and they're known as the Golden Falls. And, you know, depending on how the weather is, you may even get that extra rainbow there for some beautiful pictures. And then the third one that we stop is the famous thermal area of Geyser. And here you're going to get to admire the hot spring itself. Does anybody want to take a guess of how tall the fountain stream goes up to? A couple hundred feet? Yeah, it's actually 150 feet. It's how high it actually gets. It may be a little bit less. I guess it depends on how strong it comes out. So it is very beautiful and definitely a huge highlight as part of the Iceland trip. And then later that afternoon, we will take you to visit a greenhouse cultivation center. So here you're going to learn how the locals basically grow tomatoes and cucumbers with the help from the geothermal energy from that area. Okay, so again, does everybody remember what this is? Some choices. Yes, that's good. So here you actually have one that it's a little bit more adventurous, and then one that not so much. We head off to this peninsula area that it's very well known for a lot of dramatic landscapes, the black and white sand beaches and craters, I should say, and the waterfalls. So when we go into this area, you will have a choice.
Newman. Could you come to the front, please? Susan Newman.
I was like, what's that? Yeah. So you will have a choice to either go walking on the lava fields, or you can join the local guide and we descend you about 100 feet below ground and take you into this old lava tube. It is an experience that is quite the adventure. It does get total darkness down there, but you're going to have a chance to see, inside the cave, all these rock pigments and the lava formations and all that. So you're going to have those two choices. Both very exciting, though. Then we do make a quick stop along the way. This is one of the most photographed mountains in Iceland. So, of course, you're going to get to see it. Now, we do go on a nature cruise, and hopefully you will get to see, a lot of these birds. Does anybody know what they are?
Puffins.
Yes, the puffins. The time of year that we are going, they may or may not be around, because usually they're there from, April all the way until the end of the summer. So because we're going in September, hopefully some of them will still be around. This is an area that has about 60% of the world's Atlantic puffins. So hopefully some of them will still be there for us to enjoy and see. They're so cute. And when we go on these nature cruise, you are going to have an opportunity to try some fresh, very delicious scallops as well. Okay, then next we do go, we kind of head off more like the southern coast area, and we visit one of the largest power stations in Iceland, which is this one that you can see there. This is also the second largest geothermal power station in the entire world, so it is a pretty big deal, and you're going to learn a little bit about, the geothermal renewable energy when we go into this area. We do make a quick stop to see this waterfall. It's the only one that you can see it from inside out. So it does provide, an opportunity for some pretty stunning pictures. And then we arrive in Vik. So this is one of the most visited areas in Iceland. And when we are in Vik, we go visit the famous Skogar Museum. And there's quite a collection of, what Icelandic life was like. So you're definitely going to learn more about that, see some of their farm area and the domestic artifacts. And then what we do in this area, you're going to get to meet with a family that has been keeping alive this tradition for over 400 years, because basically they catch and preserve Greenland shark. So when we are in this area, you're going to have an opportunity to learn about that. And for those of you who are interested, you may even get a little sampling of the cured shark meat. So I'm not sure how it tastes, but you would have to go on tour to find out. So the next one that everybody wants to see is Skogas waterfall. This is one of the largest in Iceland. Hopefully you will have a chance to see the rainbow there. It is usually visible on sunny days. And I do have a little video that I'd like to share with you from this area. Apparently they say that, there is one of the legends is that one of the Viking settlers hid behind the cave of the waterfall. They buried a treasure. So we'll see. It's the legends that everybody says about a waterfall. Oh, where's my video? Oh, there you go. Okay. It almost looks like it was cut off. But we get a little bit of taste of it. Okay. So next on the itinerary, we stop at this world famous beach. It's called Fehr-Way. And as you can see, it's a black sand beach. And from here, you get to see the famous natural rock formation. The name itself, it's not up there, but it basically represents a door hole island, which is kind of what you can see here. But it's quite popular, and it's like the hill island with the door hole. So that's what it became famous for. And then next we're gonna cruise along some of these huge icebergs, and of course some pretty charming scenery along the way. Some of these glaciers have been around for over 1,000 years, and there's going to be hopefully some seals along the way as well as we go visit the glacial lagoon. Okay, then we stopped at one of their largest national park areas to see the glacier itself and some of the highest mountains there in the background. And then we have again what we call the It's Your Choice. One of the choices is whale watching. So we do a morning visit to a lava exhibition center, and then in the afternoon you're gonna have, the whale watching adventure. Or if you'd rather do something else, this is the other choice that you got, visiting the Blue Lagoon. This is probably one of the most populars, especially for the ladies. Just make sure, you don't shave, or if you have any kind of open cuts, keep that in mind that as you go into the lagoon, you may, sting a little bit because it is very full of mineral and geothermal activity in the pool itself. But very pleasant. Make sure you bring your bathing suits if that's what you're planning on doing. I would say it's probably the most popular one. Okay, and then later in the evening, we basically have a chance to say farewell by trying some of the local cuisine from Iceland. All right, any questions about Iceland?
Just the logistics. You don't fly out of Winnipeg, do you?
Yep, we do fly out of Winnipeg, but then we'll probably connect in Toronto, and then Toronto, hopefully, direct flight to Reykjavik.
So in terms of people who are aging like myself, what is day one like? You sleep all day, or do you have to get up and work?
No, so when you arrive, we don't have the air schedule yet,
Okay.
but when you arrive, the only thing that will happen that first day is welcome dinner. However, if we do arrive a little bit later in the evening, you may want a little bit extra time because the tour will start the very next morning.
Okay.
So then I would recommend doing a pre-night.
So there is time to
yeah.
adjust.
Yeah. So with all of our tours, we can do pre-nights, we can do even post-nights at the end if you'd like to stay a little bit longer. We can do, some of them have extensions. So yeah, that's definitely something that you can just talk to Sara and she can deviate on your itinerary. It is a good question because sometimes, I would have to check, and I can share with you a sample schedule from last year, what time they arrived. Because I know some of our other tours, let's say South Africa or India, we arrive in the evening. By the time you get to the hotel, it's 11 midnight, and then if you're touring the next day, it can be a little much. It's not the case for this one. We don't arrive as late, but you may still want to do a little bit extra relaxing.
What's the currency?
Oof, that's a good question. I did not check on that. I'm not sure. I don't want to take a wild guess, but when we end, we'll look it up. And we'll go from there. The one thing that it's really good, that little booklet that you have there with the trips, at the bottom, it has a link that will have all of those questions. The currency, what to pack, what other questions come up a lot? The weather. So it's basically like a frequently asked questions to kind of help you prepare for the trip. Yeah. But we can look it up because now I'm curious about it too. And you got to be prepared for the extras because Iceland can be quite an expensive of the extras. It's not an inexpensive country to go visit. All right, so spotlight on New York. Has anybody ever been to New York?
Sure.
Okay, a couple people. All right, so New York's the city that never sleeps, right? Okay, so some of the highlights for New York. This is a little bit of a shorter trip, so it's about 5 days. There's 5 meals included. If you would like to do a little bit extension and stay a little bit longer, I definitely recommend because you're going to see that we tried to cover a lot. This is a tour that it's very fast-paced, but there's just so much to see in New York. So, if you've never been and you're going on this trip, maybe extend a little bit to have a even extra free time. All right, so we do start with, this is not an overnight flight, but we do fly from here to New York to start the tour. Okay, sometimes I get asked if the motor coach will take them from here all the way there. That's not what we do. We fly there and then we start the tour. Okay, so we do start the tour itself by visiting some of the most famous areas of the Big Apple. So some of them will be the Wall Street district, the Chinatown, Central Park is definitely a big part of the tour. A lot of people like to go pay tribute to John Lennon, where they have where the strawberry fields right inside the park. So there's a lot to see. I mean, you can easily spend an entire day just on the park itself, right? But we're going to take you to see some of the most famous ones. Now, the other part that we go visit, it's called, it's kind of like a museum mile, which is a stretch along Fifth Avenue, and it has some of the finest collections of art and history and, culture, design of New York. So we're definitely going to pass by that area for you to check it out. We go visit Madison Square Park. We visit Soho, which is one of the neighborhoods in Lower Manhattan. Again, very well known for, a lot of the famous galleries, very elegant, and Chelsea on the west side. So those are some of the also very cutting edge galleries in Chelsea as well. So those are some of the places that we are going to go visit right from the start. And then, of course, when you're in New York, most people want to see the Empire State Building. So that's another one that we're going to check it out. Does anybody want to take a guess how tall the building is? How many stories? I don't know if any of you caught on to that. 102.
Oh.
It's actually the same amount of stories as Collete is celebrating this year. So yes, this is one of the tallest skyscrapers in the world. So it is a big deal, and we're going to get to see it. Does anybody know what the first one is or where it is? In Dubai. Dubai is the biggest one, the Burj Khalifa. All right, so then the next one that we are going to go see on this tour is we take you to the 9/11 Memorial Museum. And of course, here you can pay tribute to the touching people that lost their lives. So it is a pretty emotional one, but such a big part of the history of New York and I guess the entire world altogether. Some of the other highlights for this tour is, of course, going to see a Broadway show. So we actually do 2 Broadway shows as part of this tour. One of them happens in the evening, the other one happens in the afternoon, and you will get an opportunity to select your tickets. Usually it's about 8 days prior to the tour itself. We're going to provide you a list that has a few options that you can choose from. Which one you would like to see. And there's also a couple other options that, you know, tend to be sometimes one of the most popular, but also hard to get. That if you like that option, then you can just pay a little bit of an extra fee and do the upgrade. But regardless, you're going to have some options of Broadway shows that are just phenomenal. I find that regardless of which one you go see, they're just absolutely amazing. For those of you that have gone to New York, did you get a chance to go see the Broadway shows? Yeah? Yeah. How were they? Good?
Great.
Yeah, they're phenomenal. I love them. All right, so some of the other highlights that are part of New York is we do have a fun morning where we start with breakfast at Stardust Diner. And this is a 50s themed restaurant that has, you know, the singing wait staff. Actually, a lot of the people that were once on Broadway or that have tried out for Broadway, they may be there and doing their singing performance. So it's a lot of fun and a different way to kind of get the morning. This is definitely one day that differs from all the other days where we have breakfast at the hotel. But this is right across from the hotel, so it's nice and handy. And then next on that day, we do board a ferry and we cruise off to the New York harbor. On this day, make sure that you dress appropriately because it does tend to get a little chilly when we cruise. And the time of year that we're going, it's already, you know, fall and getting a little bit chilly as well. So just keep that in mind. So, of course, when we are heading on this cruise, you're going to have a chance to see the iconic Statue of Liberty and just basically get up close to the statue before we arrive in Ellis Island. And this is located on the upper New York Bay Area. And it's kind of like a gateway for, you know, there's almost 12 million immigrants to the United States. So when we visit the island, you will go on a self-guided tour to the museum itself. The museum was converted back in the days, and you're going to get to learn all about, you know, the immigration and all that. So then the remainder of the day, you will have some free time and basically to do a little bit exploring on your own. As I said, there's so much to see in New York. Maybe you'd like to go check out Union Square or the Rockefeller Center, that it's, you know, another popular one. And again, just keep in mind your tour manager if you're not too sure where to go or how to go. Maybe you want to try taking the yellow taxi. I always recommend taking the subway, right? You're in New York, that's how they get around. So it's definitely an opportunity. Maybe you like to do some shopping, right? New York has some of the most famous department stores. There's Macy's, there's Bloomingdale's, there's Saks Fifth Avenue. So if you're into shopping, New York is definitely a good place to do some shopping. The other one that it's quite famous because it happens around lunchtime, your free time. Maybe you like to try the famous New York pizza or that Bubba shrimp from the movie Forrest Gump. It's right on Broadway on Times Square as well. So this is a little bit of New York in a nutshell, and I do have a little final video that I like to share with you that sums everything up. Oops, that wasn't it. That was just me accidentally pressing a key that I wasn't supposed to. Let's try that again. I'll stay away from it. All right, any questions about New York? No? All right. So I do have just a couple final touches. The insurance is a big piece for us. This is optional, but I always say, it's good to have something even if you choose not to go with ours. The difference between our insurance is that it's cancellation. So you can cancel up to 24 hours prior to departure, and it's also trip interruption, baggage delay, and the medical portion as well. We do cover pre-existing medical conditions, and you don't have to fill out any medical questionnaires or anything like that, and it's one flat rate regardless of your age, because I know a lot of the other insurance companies, as you age, the premium gets higher and higher. But we don't do that. It's all encompassing, just one flat rate.
So what base do you need to cancel up to 24 hours?
So it's cancel for any reason.
Is that right?
Yeah. So I used to joke and say, if your cat's having a bad hair day, you need to cancel. No problem.
Serious?
Yeah.
Never heard of that.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? Sometimes
that's
it almost seems too good to be true.
Yeah,
But you need it because sometimes it's not a medical thing that happens. It could be, I don't know, somebody in your family it's not feeling well and you want to.
That's a big feature from where I come.
Yeah, absolutely. And the nice thing is if you do need to cancel, it is a full refund exactly how you paid. So let's say if you paid on your credit card, then you get your full refund on the card itself. It's not a voucher for future travel. On that little booklet there's a deadline date as to if you book by this date. What happens is, let's say if you do choose to go on the trip and put your deposit down and you get the insurance, if you cancel before that date that it's in the booklet, you will get your full refund for the trip plus the price of the premium of the insurance you paid for. So really, it's 100% refund. If it's past the date that it says there on the little booklet, and I will mention those dates in a minute, then you get your full refund minus the premium of the insurance. Okay, so it is pretty phenomenal.
Am I dreaming?
What's that?
Am I dreaming?
You know, I'm on tape, so you can you can quote me on it. It is pretty good, and we are a family-run operation, and we're debt-free, and we do our own underwriting for the insurance. Which sometimes when things happen and you really need the help from the insurance company, it helps the fact that we do our own underwriting because we have some little bit more flexibility than some of the other major large companies. So it's a big deal. The other thing is, if you've never been on a Collete tour but you go and you want to return and try different options, as long as it's within 24 months, you would get some savings per person, so either $100 or $150. It's our way of saying thank you. We do have about a 91% retention, which is pretty high. I like to say it makes my job easier. People are going on tour, they're enjoying themselves, and then they're returning. So we'd like to say thank you, give you some discounts. Passport and visa. So you won't actually be needing any visa, but you will need your passport to be valid to go to these destinations we covered today. And if you like to book any of the tours, then you can just call the ladies at Fehr-Way Tour, either Diane, Milford, Sara, and they'll be able to help you. But there is a booking form right in the middle of that little booklet that you can fill it out and hand it in to them, or you can just come in. You don't even need to fill it out. We can do it all online as well. Now we do have some savings for the trip of Iceland and Italy. If you book as part of the package that it has the price there on the brochure, then you can save $150. If it's before, so that date that I was mentioning before with the insurance, so for Iceland it's by March 26th. For Italy, it's by March 13th, so we still have a couple of months. And then for New York, we have until April for you to get a $100 discount. Past that date, then that price will be a little bit higher. And then, just for coming out here tonight, then I always extend a $50 discount as well on top of the $150 or the $100, whichever you choose to go on. And that's pretty much it. I just have one final video, and then we'll cover some more questions. Sounds good?
Sure.
Or you can ask your question.
I just wondered how many people would be on the Icelandic trip?
So it is part of the classic. Yeah, it is the 44. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
All right. Yes.
How many
All over the
times
world,
have
yeah.
you told yourself, someday you'll travel to that special place, the place you've spoken about, dreamed about. It's so close, you can almost feel it. The warmth of the sun, the sound of music you've never heard before, the discovery of a new flavor. Today isn't like any other day. Today is the day where you set off for new horizons. Stop waiting for the perfect time and make this time perfect. This is your trip of a lifetime. Someday you'll travel to that special place. Your someday is here.
Alrighty, so hopefully your someday's here. I always say it's better to go to, one destination once in a lifetime than to hear everybody talk about it and never have a chance to go. So if anybody has any other questions, I'm going to stick around. You had asked if people come from, all over. And yes, basically a lot of Canadians, a lot of Americans, and then Australians tend to be on the tour as well. So all over the world. Yeah. All right. Thank you. And I'm curious about that